Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Hello, sisters. Happy December. Can you believe it? We are literally in the last month of 2019. What a powerful year this was. I'm not even in the stage of reflection yet. I can't even get there. I really am just blown away that we are here in December. It is just like time seems to just go by faster and faster as the years go by. And I am just really sitting with so much gratitude as we've been on such a beautiful gratitude challenge and journey within Goddess Collective, and seeing some of the amazing people who've contributed to this gratitude challenge, reading what you guys have posted, and just, actually I'm recording this on Thanksgiving. So I am just feeling the gratitude and the love for this year. And I think that's really my intention and how I'm choosing to go out of 2019, to just be in gratitude, because while this year brought a lot of challenges, it really brought so much growth and so much expansion and so much like another level of intelligence that I didn't have. But I think that is what every year does as we grow. So with that, I am very excited to have Mimi Truong on the show today, as always, bringing us the astrology insights for the month. And we actually have a lot of fun on this episode because it's Sagittarius season and I'm a Sag. So where are all my Sages out there? Happy birthday to you all. Those of you who have been, listening to the podcast and know I'm a Sag. Sag sisters, where you at? If you're a part of the Facebook group, let me know. Tell me where you are tuning in from. Say happy birthday to yourself and me. It's our season, you guys, and we get to really embody the archer, the goddess of Artemis, who is the goddess of the moon and hunt, and she is the guiding goddess of this month, actually inside the Goddess Life membership. And we're going to be exploring the archetype of her and how we can use and allow for her to support us through this season. Goddess Artemis is the archer. She's the epitome of the Sagittarius. She actually is like a hardcore feminist and is a virgin, never wanted a man in her life. And she is just a badass that is literally living with her nymphs all around nature and hunting and one with the forest. And she is always really clear about her goals and her ambitions and her where she's aiming her bow and arrow. So I'm very excited to dive into all of that juiciness with Artemis. And just so you guys know, if you hear any like tapping in the background, I'm recording this as it's raining. It's been raining in LA for the last couple of days, and I've been waiting for the rain to die down to record, but apparently it doesn't want to stop. So I'm just like, you know what? It's going to be a beautiful background noise and you guys are going to enjoy it. So I just got to go all in and record this. So with that too, if you guys are interested in exploring inside the Goddess Life membership and joining us this month, our theme is getting back into the wild. So we're really going to be playing with this archetype of Artemis and tapping into our inner wildness, our inner wild woman. And I'm already like smiling thinking about this because I love my wild side. And we're going to be unleashing that this December and really just going out with 2019, as a lot of people say, with a bang. I think that's kind of cliche, but I think it's important to really utilize this last month to harness that which you are desiring for the next year. And 2020 feels like a big year. It's like a year of very intense, like up leveling. I feel like this year has been prepping us for the expansion that we're stepping into with 2020. I keep seeing a lot of things coming into balance, full circle. 2020 to me means full balance and like divine feminine, divine masculine. And it feels like the turn of a whole, it's a whole new decade. So it's very exciting. And there's a lot of stuff coming forth for us energetically, physically, and all levels. So I'm excited to tap into our magic. If you're interested in joining the Goddess Life membership, head on over to IamGoddessCollective.com and you can sign up. There's many different pricing options for you guys. If you want to just do a monthly drop-in, you can do that. Check it out. See if it's your vibe, if we are your vibe or not. But we do live rituals in there. You get guided meditations every month, and you get to hear from our monthly herbalist that will come on and share with you the herb of the month. So we talk about herbs, we talk about astrology, we talk about all the things. That's just kind of an expansion of the podcast. So happy to see you guys there. And of course, I'm going to start the show with a tarot card reading, or an oracle card reading from the lovely Moon deck. And as you guys know, the Moon deck is now our sponsor. So I'm pulling cards every time to really connect to this deck. And I pulled a very special deck for December. So this is the card of the month that we're going to be, that's what I asked the cards, is like, what is our card of the month? And I pulled the shadow card. So this is a beautiful picture of a woman who's closing her eyes, and her hair is actually the shape of an owl. So we've got owl medicine that's coming forth for us. And the mantra on the card says, "There's medicine in my shadow." So the beautiful thing about these cards is that this mantra allows for you to connect to this rhythms of the card, the vibration of the card, and really an invitation for you to tap into the mantra. So we're going to say this mantra together 3 times. There is medicine in my shadow. There is medicine in my shadow. There is medicine in my shadow. And really taking a look at what that means. So your shadow is this beautiful, mirror, or this thing that we don't often look at. And a lot of people, we've talked about shadow work here on the podcast, and we're actually in shadow season as we go, as on the Western Hemisphere, as we're in these shadowy months. Hibernation is happening right now. It's raining here, so I'm not really outside much. And within those months, it invites us into this opportunity to go within and really look at our shadow self. And our shadow self can be just like when we look at the tarot system. There's the reverse, there's the upright cards, and there's the reverse card. And while that reverse card might seem a little scary, there's actually medicine there too. And just like I said with 2020, balance of divine feminine, divine masculine, light and dark energies, we are, when we look at our shadow, we're making peace with the darkness within us. And we all have a shadow. So that work is not for the faint of heart when you really look into that space. But it's really where, some of the greatest healers and medicine makers and teachers and artists of our time really emerge from that space and find their gifts. So don't be afraid of it. That's really what this card to me really reminds me of. And the owl medicine, man, owls are so powerful, and they're the wise ones, and they bring forth that wisdom inside of that shadowy aspects of ourselves. So I think it's really beautiful that this card came forth, and for you to just remember that there is medicine there. And even though it's not often a fun place to look, there's so much healing that can be done when you take that time. And I think that the best way to begin working with your shadow, if you don't really know where to even start, is to just journal. Journal some of the dark thoughts that you have, or some of the fears that you have, or the things that you're avoiding, and just look at them and, look at it on the piece of paper and start to just say, I love that part of me anyways. I love that part of me anyways. And to work with that vibration of love and bringing the light to that darkness, and then eventually it becomes this balance of light and dark, and you're aware of your shadow, and you're going to walk with your shadow in life, but you're also going to recognize it as such a gift. And I think, oftentimes we don't talk a lot about mental illness, but I think that that's something that is where so many of the souls here on this planet that are having such a hard time. If you have anxiety, like I do have anxiety, and I've actually stopped drinking coffee, and that's really helped, by the way. But if you have any of those experiences, I really want to invite you to really face it, really embody it, really make peace with it. Don't hide from it. If that's something that you're owning and you are really, or even having a hard time owning, just, tell somebody you love, tell someone, this is the things that I struggle with. These are the things that I think sometimes, and it's not often easy, but when you finally release that attachment to having to look a certain way or having to hide it because you need to come, like, show up to the world all together, that's the minute you give yourself the opportunity to be free and to become wise within that field. And you never know, like, you could be helping someone navigate through everything that you've been experiencing because you are experienced in it, and maybe you found meditation, maybe you found yoga, maybe you found something that has helped you heal along the way. But that's where, some of the greatest healers have been born, because they use what they've healed from to empower and heal others. And that really, to me, is what is like how a healer emerges, or how an artist emerges. So, such powerful medicine. And the ritual in this booklet, as you guys know, those who've heard me doing these little card readings, there's a ritual inside the booklet, which I love. And of course, it's a sacred fire and smudging ritual. So the element of fire, has the ability to destroy, transform, light, and warm anything. I mean, it's how we are humans. I'm reading this book called Primal, actually, and it's how to tap into your inner wild. It's helping me get inspired for this month's membership. And so in that, there's this whole section about how man, became one with fire and the sacredness of fire. And so this ritual is an invitation for you to really connect to fire and perform a smudge ceremony within yourself and around your home to help you release any past stories, set intentions for the future and 2020, and connect you to your resilient spirit. So take some time with this ritual and refer to, your smudging tools, your whatever you feel called to use, whether that be sage, Palo Santo, mugwort, rosemary. There's so many different elements to that. And I know there's been a lot of talk also about the endangerment of white sage and Palo Santo. And I think I just want to speak on that really briefly and say that, do your research. There's a lot of misinformation out there going on within our witch community. And I think that while there's so many different sides to it, just know where you're getting your source from. And I think that's where I've come to make peace with it all, because I have so much sage growing, in my backyard and all these. And I know everybody doesn't have access to that, but I think it's important that we, cultivate a sustainable mindset and don't just like rape from the earth and take from the earth that which we aren't supposed to. So that's what I want to say to that. But, feel called, like whatever you use is perfect. So just sit comfortably, recite a prayer and cast a little circle of protection around you, and welcome only that which lovingly supports your healing and growth into your space. Light a candle, infuse it with fire, and ignite your prayers and intentions. And also, I just want to say there's a beautiful ritual candle that's also available on the Moon Deck, where you can actually etch in your spell or your wishes into the candle. So that's on the Moon Deck. If you go to www.themoondeck.com/goddess, you'll get 10% off. And then you can just sit in this space and you light your candle, light your smudge, gently fan your smudge until it starts to smoke and breathe all over you, and just wave it all over. I mean, I'm sure you guys have done smudge rituals before, so that's really what this shadow invitation card is going to tap you into, that ability to just remember to take that time to clear your energy, to step into your resiliency and your strength and release anything that doesn't serve you anymore. So imagine when you're holding the flames of your candle to be filling you up with light and goodness, and make peace with your shadow. So thank you, Moon Deck. We love this card. It's so beautiful. All right, sisters. Well, we have also got some very exciting reviews that I have been excited to share with you guys. This one's actually one of my favorite reviews I think I've ever received. So this is from Core of the Earth. For goddesses of all genders. As a man, I find this podcast beautiful and enlightening. Nixie is so in tune with every aspect of life, and I love hearing her incredible wisdom that helps me connect with the divine feminine and shine a light on what makes the masculine great as well. Love, love, love this podcast. Thank you so much, Core of the Earth. I love this review because I really have, always wonder, how this podcast perceives to be within other genders or, non-gender. I mean, the whole spectrum of just being very diverse in the messaging. So really happy to hear that that's been landing for all the masculine out there and anyone else who defines himself as a goddess. So love you guys so much. Thank you so much. If you have not yet wrote a review and a rating, I am going to ask you as my birthday present, because I'm going to be 30 on December 18th, and I'm setting an intentional goal to make it to 200 views. So if that is something you would love to do for me as my birthday present, I am asking that would be so amazing. So thank you all so much for those that already have written a review. I love you guys. You're awesome. You guys are the reason why I continue to show up and do this podcast. So, all right, without further ado, let's have some fun with Mimi Truong, shall we? Let's dive in. Hello, goddesses. Welcome back to the podcast. It is December, the last month of 2019. This is the last month, you guys. And guess who we have on the show today to chat about all things in December? Inside the stars, the realms of the, cosmos. I was going to get real woo-woo up there, and then it just didn't really happen. I've been watching way too much Dark Crystal.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, boy. We could do a whole podcast episode about the Dark Crystal. So Cameron actually brought this to my awareness that the Dark Crystal was his favorite movie when he was growing up, and it's very much like The Labyrinth. And it's like Jim Henson's puppets, but the Dark Crystal. So the parallels of this show are insane. I mean, there's this old woman who's the astrologer, and her name is Olga, and she's like a hag, and she looks all with her mind's eye blasted open. And she's got a third eye that she sees out in the cosmos, and she's kind of the wise one and the shaman of this whole community / world. It's definitely another world. It exists out there. And then there's the Gelflings, and the Gelflings are the little people that are basically us that run the world, work in the community. And then there's the Skepsies, and the Skepsies are our government system, basically, who rule the world and are corrupt and evil in a sense. And ultimately, I'm not going to give too much away because you guys have to watch the show. It's everything that we love here on the podcast is all in the Dark Crystal. So essentially there's this crystal, what looks like an amethyst crystal at this point is what the Skepsies have taken over and are just completely destroying. And this is the almighty god of their world. So it's pretty intense.
So it's a show.
It's a show now.
Where?
They just came out with the show on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check it out.
You're not gonna stop for beware. Every day that Cameron came home from work, I was like, Dark Crystal? Yep. Okay, great.
Oh my God. You're gonna get me hooked. Last night, I was actually thinking about, maybe I'm gonna take on a show. I haven't been hooked on a show in a long time.
You're gonna be hooked.
So
it gets a little dark, forewarning, but it's a healthy, it's ooh, that's intense, but also really addicting because it somewhere in my fantasy myth, it feeds that part of me where it's just kind of Harry Potter So tangent on that one.
Oh my
Get on it, Guess Sisters.
So good. Oh, this is gonna be
perfect time for December.
Yes,
to
holidays,
get into
just getting into that
hibernation and do Netflix binges.
I'm sold. I'll be there. And then we'll exchange notes.
Yeah. I'll give you all the details. All right. So anyways, December, astrology. What's going on? I know it's Sagittarius season.
Yeah. So it's Sagittarius and then moving on to Capricorn, which will be super intense Capricorn at the end of the year.
Okay. Here we go.
But they're the beginning of, a couple of things super important to understand. Right from the get-go of December, early December 2nd, is when Jupiter moves into Capricorn and out of Sagittarius. It's been in Sagittarius for a little bit over a year.
Wow.
And Sagittarius and Jupiter are like, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So it's been very comfortable. It's been doing its thing. It's magic. It's very expansive, opportunities, probably for a lot of people, whether it felt good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's not about good or bad. It's just, hey, it's like blasting, it's expansion. So now it's moving into a sign that, so Jupiter is all about expansion, but it's moving into a sign that's super cautious and conservative. So it's really bringing in the discipline.
Yeah.
It's bringing in all things Capricorn, and we already have Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. Now we're going to have Jupiter moving into Capricorn until December 19 of 2020.
Wow.
So what this invites is learning about discipline, learning about hard work, learning to find the opportunity in a routine, in getting clear in your goals.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's really, really juicy because, before Saturn entered Capricorn, it was Saturn in Sag. So those who were going through their Saturn return with a Saturn in Sag is the opposite energy. Saturn is about restricting and limiting, but it's in the zodiac sign that just wants freedom and expansion. So it's very uncomfortable. But I think like with the Jupiter in Capricorn, which would be like the opposite, right? The expansion exists when we are clear about our goals, our accomplishments, and we can get down to work. And there's a lot of abundance and opportunity that comes from there. So I think that that's what's available for us, even though, yes, it's hibernation time, but it lives for us, with us for the next year. So I'm excited. I hope you guys get excited, because that means if you're an entrepreneur and you are setting shop, or you're at the point in your business to take it to the next level, Jupiter and Capricorn will really support you. So,
what does Jupiter rule?
Expansion.
Okay.
And is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like what is, because I know like
it's opportunity, it's luck.
Luck.
So it's teaching. So maybe you're at the point in your business that you have gained a lot of knowledge, and it's time for you to really putting it out there, because Capricorn is all about business. It's all about tangible results. So it might be like you can become the expert, the subject matter expert. Again, this is not necessarily true for everybody, but it depends on where Capricorn falls in your chart. It depends on where you're at in the stage of your business. So definitely different than if you're starting your business, then, this is great. If you're starting your business, that means like you're on it. You're just ready to hit the ground running and learn and just connect with maybe people that are already been there. It's Capricorn and Saturn. It's all about mastery. And I think that we've talked a little bit about it in the beginning of the year when we talked about Capricorn energy and Saturn in Capricorn. It's really about taking the time to master something. So that's why Capricorn's slow moving, but it is taking the time, and time is a very Capricornian concept, to become an expert at it. It's not jumping from one topic to another, but it's about, okay, I'm going to pick and commit to one thing and let me get really good at it. And then when you become good at it, then people would pay you a lot of money to just be teaching them and consulting and whatever that is, and managing. And so that's really good energy for this upcoming year that's coming through the beginning of December. And then December 11. Now it would be December 12 if you were on the other side of the world, but here in California and Pacific time zone, it's December 11. We have our full moon in Gemini at 19 degrees of Gemini, and it's around 10 p.m. on the West Coast. So it's December 11. If you're on the East Coast, that falls into December 12. So it'll be 12/12. This full moon, it's Gemini, it's full moon's always when the moon is in the opposite sign of the sun. So given that the sun is in Sagittarius, the moon will be in Gemini. And that polarity is all about words. It's all about information. We all know the power of words. What you declare and manifest comes through in your vocabulary and your language. So I've got another quote for you.
I love your little quotes, Mimi. So prepared.
Thank you. Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation, by Rumi.
The last one, Rumi's my all-time fave.
Mm-hmm. I love Rumi.
Yeah. Well, I did a podcast with Anaya Sophia, and she talked a lot about Rumi and Shams, their relationship and their dynamic of how they were both male, and nobody really knows their love story. And so Rumi is I feel like we're soully connected to some degree. But I think the last quote you shared was very much about going within and being silent. So, I mean, that's so fitting for this month. This month is what so many people get to spend time with family or doing the holiday thing or traveling or taking some time away. I mean, everybody kind of gets a holiday break. And if you don't necessarily get that, create some time to go within and do that. But I think that silence is the language of God.
Isn't it powerful? It's so wow.
Yeah.
And that's why, Sagittarius rules nature. So going out in nature and be with nature there's a reverence to that, and to connect ourselves spiritually with Mother Earth, and to just listen to silence, and, whatever you find is your God. And it can be just a powerful being. It doesn't have to have a name but whoever your universal power will speak through you in moments of silence. And, that's why meditation is so powerful, because you connect truly to source. And sometimes when we speak and we use word, it gets lost in translation, because it's all the meaning that we put in it, right? So it's Sagittarius, it's all about the truth seeker. Yeah. And Gemini is very different energy than the Sag. Gemini energy just wants to talk, and it's great. I have plenty of friends who are Gemini moon, and I'm married to a Gemini.
So
So I know.
Yeah.
But sometimes the power of silence, speaks so much louder than words.
Yeah. I was just going to be silent there for a minute, but then I realized we're recording.
So that's what is happening in the beginning of December with this full moon. So it's whatever energy, it's the relationships that you have in your life. And sometimes it's silence. If someone is upset and someone wants to communicate something, try silence and see what comes through.
That's really healing. Good medicine.
Yeah.
Instead of reacting with anger or frustration or, this actually brings me back to this book that I'm reading. It's called, what is it called? Becoming Your Highest Self, Spiritual Growth, Being Your Highest Self by Sanaya Ramo, I believe. And it's a channeled book. I had read this book years ago, but I created a meditation room in my space, and now it's sort of allowed me to find books that I honestly hadn't really completely read or what resonated with at the time. So I picked it up again, and it in this book, this channeled information is really, it's simple, but it's very, very deep and profound, because it's really a tool to really get you in this dynamic of really working with your highest self and being it, rather than just going and navigating through life and not really connecting and dropping in and going silent. So, I had a point to this, and it was on the same train of thought that we were discussing, but I really think that ultimately it's this section of this book was how to connect with your highest self and to do that consistently and find the answers. And, you know, when I did some really deep, powerful work around it. And I think it just kind of brings me back to that silence and to, you know, silence being so powerful, and how the exercise that they brought in was like, okay, so let's say you're in a situation where you're standing in line for coffee and the line is really long. People are getting angry because they've got to get to work. And you can just feel, you know, if you're an empath, you can feel the energy building and it's uncomfortable. People are upset. And then what you do is you start to maybe close your eyes and bring this source of light around your crown chakra and bring it in and allow for it to expand, and then allow for all this light to kind of blast through you, sort of like Reiki. I'm sure I'm not Reiki attuned, but it sounds like a lot what Reiki healers do, and just create this light and set your intention on what the result that you're looking for is. So the result for, let's say I'm standing in line in coffee and everybody's upset. The result that I am aiming to and intending for this light to bring is peace and calm, and for the line to move swiftly so that I can move through it. And so there's tons of like, you know, other exercises in there, but that one really stuck because I think in arguments, when we get heated and instead of, you know, reacting in that way, we can just sort of send that light to somebody and be silent and see what happens, because it can be quite powerful. And I've been testing it a little bit in my own life. And so far it's been really interesting to watch just sort of how things will sort of dissipate when either I'm silent or I'm just sending that light. And as a woman too, you know, we have so much to say. We always want to talk. You know, we have something to say to everything, which is totally amazing and fine. But at the same time, that silence can be so powerful because somebody can, you know, look at you and they're like, hey, you know, why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you seeing me or talking? And sometimes just like being silent in that moment can transform the way the conversation might have gone.
Yeah. And, you know, I was a communications major, so nonverbal communication is so much more revealing than the verbal part of communication. So, yeah, body language, you know, it's very, it communicates way more.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a
I want to study more body language stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to know. I just know thyself. Anything that's like, I want to know more about people. Yeah. And that one is a really big one because I've heard podcast TED Talks on it. And I think it's, you know, maybe an invitation for all of us to go there and maybe even do a podcast episode about it. Cause I think it's really, it's really important to know how somebody is showing up, the way their energy, and also our own, you know, how we're positioning ourselves to either receive information or to deflect the information based on how our bodies are sitting.
Yeah. You know, closed body, open bodies, facial expressions, you know, the way you hold your lip really reveals. And I don't know, have you ever watched that show Liars, or like, it's a show where it teaches you, like it's a whole fictional show, but it's inspired by someone that does that for a living, and it's like a whole crime show, but and in the courtroom, and to be able to read whether that person is guilty or not, and it reveals all these tricks of how that person, the expert, knows whether the witness or the person that they brought in was telling the truth or not. It's amazing.
I don't think I've seen that. I need to watch it.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the show, but it's
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what's available in December.
Well, yeah, and it's like the Sagittarius, the truth. You know, we're so I'm so always eager to know the truth of a situation, so much so that like for me, I had to go through a lot of unravelings of my own truth and my own ethic code. Like I didn't have one. I was kind of rolling around the world with no foundation of my own identity or truth. And so now that I have that and it's so sacred to me, I'm like, hell no, if I bring in any liars or anything like dishonesty. It's just, it's such a big part of who I am now, that it's important to me and it's of value to me to have honesty in my relationships and in myself first and foremost, which is always the hard one.
Yes.
But as a Sag, you know, we're seeking of the truth, whether that be honesty or whether that even be universal truth, you know, spiritual truth, you know, truth about why we're here. We ask the big questions and we pull those out. And I think that's why I actually have a podcast.
I think it's very fitting. And then, you know, what else is, this is big in the sense that even though I really love balance, right? And I think that I'm always learning so much from all the different zodiac signs combination every year, month to month, and to look at December with both the energy of Sag and Capricorn, that's very prevalent, is that balance of wisdom and then the implementation, like the taking risk to create the results, because Sag's so willing to take risk, but then it's taking risk for a purpose. And that's very Capricornian. It's like, what's your goal? What's the end goal? What's the end game? And I think that, again, I think it's kind of the continuation of November, right? Like that energy of that Scorpio, Capricorn was very helpful in moving things forward and being very active. And now December, it's take those risks. It's like, what do you have to lose? Right. And Sagittarius energy is so willing to just, try, just go. It's like, let's experiment. And then as long as you know what you're experimenting for. And that's a lot of that earthy Capricorn and, you know, connecting to also Uranus and Taurus, all of that combination is very helpful for anyone to be taking risk. You know, hey, it's the end of the year. Try it. Yeah. Doesn't work. You got the new year ahead of you.
Totally. Yeah. Well, now seems like the perfect opportunity to share with you goddesses our newest sponsor, the Moon Deck. The Moon Deck is a beautiful oracle set that connects you to your intuition and brings self-care rituals into your daily life. Created to foster community and healing, this entire set of 44 cards plus a beautiful guidebook filled with rituals is inspired by the cycles of the moon and the empowerment of women. It shares insights on growth, purpose, practice, and emotional well-being. The Moon Deck can be worked with as an oracle guide, as a daily tool for reflection and meditation, or simply in a tarot-inspired spread. As a goddess listener, you receive 10% off the entire site. So head on over to themoondeck.com/goddess and enter code goddessmoon to receive your discount. Happy rituals and oracle card pulling, sisters. I love you.
You know, we're getting into the holidays and we have, interestingly enough, a new moon on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, here in the West Coast, again, very late night at 10 p.m., we have a new moon in Capricorn. So for the rest of the world that's east of, you know, the West Coast, then it's going to fall on the 26th of December. And it's actually an eclipse. It's an annular eclipse. Wow. So again, eclipses always are way more potent. So this new moons are always good time to set an intention. So I think this is great timing to keep, you know, risk, do everything you've got, you know, in you to put it all out there. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, in the new moon, to really reflect on, okay, what did not work that I've got to plant new seeds to see it grow after the new into the new year. So Capricorn's all about, again, you know, responsibility, your goals, your accomplishments, also time. I think a lot of people feel like they're running out of time. So
definitely
learning about your relationship with time and knowing that there are certain things that does require time. And then there's times where we procrastinate and we waste time. So, and also commitment, so connected to Capricorn energy, is we let our fears get in the way of our commitments. And so in that new moon, check in with yourself. What are you really afraid of? And what are you going to commit to creating in your life, and plant those seeds? If it's discipline, if it's clarity, if it's fear of commitment, if you're not into the entrepreneurial, world, but you have a relationship issue and you're wondering why relationships don't work, ask yourself, is there a fear around commitment? And go there.
This is the last new moon of the year, you guys.
Yeah, and
so make it count.
Make it
basically.
Count. Also, we're past the but that new moon also is has a trine to Uranus in Taurus, and it's also next to Jupiter, which is expansion, luck. And then it's trining Uranus, which is all about breaking conventions. So I would say that new moon is a great time to plant your seeds, set your intention to where do you want to expand in your life, and where do you want to break conventions, or what is it that you want to innovate or break away from tradition that you, even though it's funny because Capricorn is so traditional, but it's when you think about like startups come up with business ideas because they've learned from conventions, from another business, right. And that's where innovations comes through is, this could be done better, and this is how I can do it. And what if we do it this way? And it's be able to try something that's different. And Uranus wants to break conventions. It's like, it's literally Elon Musk rethinking and redesigning and rethinking cars. It's not even a car, it's a software, but it's really connecting to his real belief in creating a vehicle that's sustainable, that's environmentally friendly, and that doesn't take up gas.
Right.
And that is truly that. I mean, if you really wanted to understand what this new moon is about, just think about the Tesla, like the company, not just Tesla, the guy,
the car,
or the car.
Yeah.
But philosophically, I think the embodiment of what Elon Musk is creating in this world really speaks to the energy of the new moon of, yes, it's a corporation, it's a business, but it's about, putting a man into the moon and finding the technology and the ways to do that. And also finding ways, I remember a few years ago, people were making fun of Elon Musk is like, there's no charging stations, it doesn't go far and nobody's going to buy it. But when people start buying those cars, then they put in those charging stations. They made it happen. Yeah. So, how does that translate into your life? Learn from that.
Right. Well, and it also reminds me of, I think this is a quote that Gabby Bernstein says, but she says like, you've got to take the leap and let tell the universe you're ready. So you've got to take one step forward, and then the universe will follow you, because you've got to tell the universe you are ready for whatever it is. And what else was coming up was like the word new paradigm. And I think that this is really what, like, we're here to create and activate this heaven on earth experience, this new paradigm, stepping into this new earth world, whatever that is. But we kind of know what that is. Like, we're creating it here. The fact that even these conversations that we get to have now are being heard, are being seen. We're having inventions come out like this Tesla, and we're just moving closer and closer to a new reality. And it's interesting because it can go one of two ways at this point. But I think when we really listen to the fact that we're all innovators, we're all creative, we're all artists, we're all here to make a difference in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're here tuning into this podcast right now. This message is for you. You are here to be that change and create these new paradigms for us to survive sustainably on this planet. And that's really what, gets me lit up. It gets me excited to see that there's change happening, that there's something new on the horizon, that we're basically sailing into a new world. And so I think that feels really exciting.
Yeah. And, when I think one of our podcasts, when we were talking about Uranus moving into Taurus, it's changing the way that the world, manage finances or look at their personal resources and also the earth. And there's, I think the next 7 years, we're going to see how companies are not just only going green, but really learning about sustainable practices and changing the way that they spend money and where they invest their money, how they use their resources. I think there's so much education in that and opportunity in that. So if you're in that type of environment, industry, keep going. I know it's hard because it's new grounds, it's unknown, it's never been chartered, but that's where how you can change the world is really believing and having a clear vision of what's possible if the world were to take like these little steps. And also it kind of reminds me of the story of the 100th monkey. Do you know that story?
I don't, but I love stories.
Okay. So, and this might inspire people is, so it's out in an island off of Japan. There's these monkeys that eat sweet potatoes, and there's this scientist that decided to sit on that island and observe how these monkey lives. And the monkeys traditionally has been just eating these sweet potatoes, straight from the sand, until one day he noticed that one of the monkeys decided to wash the sweet potatoes in the water and start eating.
This is a real experiment. Wow.
And then it's like one monkey teaching the other monkey, and the other monkey seeing and watching that.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. That's probably where it came. I don't know. I don't know if that's where the expression came from. But watching another monkey start washing the sweet potatoes and then eating the sweet potatoes without the sand in it. And then eventually, once it hits the 100th monkey, now the whole population of monkeys is eating sweet potatoes by washing it.
Wow.
But it's a behavior change story that at some point it will hit a critical mass, and that these changes don't happen overnight. I think it actually didn't. Like, this experiment was observed over a very long period of time.
Wow.
So at the end of the day is, if you are trying to enroll someone to, let's say, recycle, and even like a few years ago in California, you had to, there's this policy that asks us to stop using plastic bags when we go grocery shopping.
Right.
And if you were to get one, you have to buy it. It's no longer free, right? But it took me a while to remember to bring my own reusable bag when I go.
I'm still not that great at it sometimes. I just put a whole new set in my car, so we'll see.
But that's the behavior change that if you want to invite a larger mass in the public to change behavior, it starts small, and then at some point it will hit critical mass.
Yeah. But I think now what's being called for us is taking responsibility for the shit that we've done. And to be clear on recycling too, I mean, that's a really tough conversation just based on some of the things that I've found out is we don't even recycle in the US anymore. All of our shipments from China has been, can't reverse. So they're not even, China used to take all of our recycling. They're not taking that anymore. So really right now, there's no recycling happening in the US, which is really hard to stomach because we think that, oh yeah, and still to this day. And the reason why that it's happened in this way is because we've been lazy. We don't recycle the right way. We don't clean out the things like the bottles or the cans and then put it in there. We just fill it with food. And, you know, these separators that do all the recycling and they go through and filter through it, they get paid minimum wage and they don't really care. I mean, there's so much lack of responsibility in this state, in the US, that we're, you know, at this place where new interventions are going to happen. But I think the answer now is really moving beyond that and having a different mindset around zero waste. Zero waste is really hard to do. I've been slowly navigating towards a lower waste lifestyle, but it's really hard. And that alone is huge, is massive. But if we're really going to take ownership for the amount of waste that we're producing and not end up like WALL-E, that movie where, you know, the robots are going around and there's just trash everywhere, that's kind of that to me sounds like the best solution to, you know, kind of creating this new paradigm and this new wave.
Yeah. True. I mean, that's what the whole Saturn and Capricorn is all about. Responsibility. It's personal responsibility first and foremost.
Yeah.
It's hard to build something and asking other people to follow along or do something if we don't even do it ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. But and also being the example, like you say, you know, monkey see, monkey do. If I start cutting down my plastic use and I tell people about it, that's going to only inspire somebody else to do it. And then, you know, that person goes and tells someone, and then, you know, it's a gradual process. And evolution is happening here, but we're at a crisis now. So it's like every time now I think about buying something, it's just it's like a subconscious programming that you've got to get on board with, and it takes time. So, you know, no rush, but also there's a rush. Yeah. You know, I mean,
yeah, it's like there. Convenience, right?
Yeah,
convenience
totally.
Versus
Amazon Prime, get it tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm totally guilty of that.
And it's so I live in a condo, and we have these recycling bins. There's only 22 units in my condo. It's not a big, large condo, but the amount of recycling boxes that is and I think we have 4 blue recycling bins. It's always full, and it's mostly all Amazon boxes. Yeah,
I know. I totally get on my boyfriend about that sometimes, because he now ships things to his office, because I was like, yo, the boxes. I mean, and it's, I get it. Like, he works like crazy, and so going to a store is not really an option. So it does have that sense of conveniency, but at the same time, I think it's just balance too, is like knowing that, you know, we are responsible for those boxes and breaking them down to that degree, and maybe reusing them. Like, you know, getting creative with it. I don't know, making something cool and reusing it. And I mean, we're consumers. We live in a consumer world, and the only way to really, I think, create true change is by us becoming the own like creators of it. But we just then that becomes the time, you know. Yeah. So it's a big conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at the evolution even from my childhood. And I was sharing about my condo because I've been living in my condo for 11 years, and I noticed how significantly the bins get filled up so quickly in just a decade.
Yeah.
So, and I remember as a child, and I grew up in Canada, and we had a great recycling system. Like, there's recycling trucks that would pick up the recycling bins and empty out our recycling bins. And then we would have the actually waste management trucks on a different day that would stop by and empty out our trash bins, right? When I moved to the States, we didn't have that at all. Like, when I moved to the States like 20 years ago, those blue bins were not, it wasn't given by the city. Like,
you had to order it, right? Or something
like that. Yeah. Like, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, for me, it took me a while to even understand that, because I grew up in a place where the government and the city would give you, like, every time you buy a house, it just comes with the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely,
it's a very different mentality.
Right. But I mean, we are this gigantic part of the world. So it's just like, we can do better, guys, you know, and really, I think the call to action is to educate yourselves, you know, figure out the solution. You know, I don't know the answers. I don't know all the answers. I'm learning as I go, committed to being the part of this revolution that we're seeing. And, you know, that's what wakes me up every day now is I'm like, you know what? I'm getting up today because I'm a part of the revolution. I'm here to make a change. I'm stepping into that. And it's a big role to play, but it also, I just want to be clear, it doesn't have to be a big role.
Yeah.
It can be super, it doesn't have to be like you on the sidelines, you know, doing all these crazy things and being an activist. It can be you just being a solid mother and being present with your kids and being compassionate with your husband, or, you know, just being a giving, loving soul to this world. And at the end of the day, whatever you do to bring more love into this reality is, to me, a part of the solution.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I like how you use, you know, bring into reality, because you know, we can dream great things but it will remain a dream until you actually take steps to make it a reality.
right.
And very much a Capricornian energy is living in the real world. And oftentimes I hear people say, well, I'm just being realistic. Okay, yes, there is that realism, but what does that look like for you to say I'm being realistic? Or you being like a pessimist realistic, or a realist in truly taking ownership and making it happen? It's very murky waters.
Yep.
But if you're not happy with something, instead of complaining and blaming, and turn it around and asking, how can I make a difference here? That is true responsibility. And that's bringing that into reality.
Yep. Yeah. I love it. Exciting stuff happening this month.
It is.
We just got into a big tangent, but I think that's really what I've been tuning into this like 2020 is going to be bringing in as a whole, is just that new paradigm, that catalyst for change, you know, really stepping up. Like if you're feeling called right now to make something, create something, just create a movement, create a mission or something of that nature, like now is the time. Yep. We have so many resources, you know, reach out to me, whoever, like we have so many resources. If your vision is really meant to come out into this world and be a part of that, you know, ask for help, ask for support. You know, we all got this. It's going to take a team effort.
Yeah. And a lot of this, you know, earlier in the podcast, when you asked what's going on in December, I'm like, oh my gosh, so much stuff. But certainly like at the end of December, we're going to see this lineup of all these planets in Capricorn.
Oh, wow. I have so much Capricorn in my chart too.
Yes,
Saturn is in Capricorn, so
yeah, you do.
Turning 30, and
then, but it's really about the business. And it's also the provider. There's a lot of I don't think it's like just a one moment thing. It's certainly everyone who are Capricorn and Cancer, or even, you know, Aries and Libras a lot. That makes like a grand cross. What that means is like Capricorn and Cancer are opposite signs, and then Libra and Aries are opposite signs, right. But they're exactly 90 degrees from the Capricorn Cancer, right? So it makes like an X across. So those are signs that are definitely going through massive, massive changes. And oftentimes it's connected to either relationships or family relationships. So a lot of family generational healing.
What signs are those again?
Cancer, Capricorn. Like really ask yourself, think about if you're not a Capricorn and a Cancer, you may know someone who's Capricorn, Cancer, and just really reflect on the changes that have been experiencing at least within the last year, and it continues for another year. There's a lot of healing, family healing, and restructuring and understanding and forgiving and all that stuff. And then the Libra and Aries, that's all a lot of, your own identity, and then relationships.
It's a lot.
They're all connected. There's a lot of major, massive changes for these zodiac signs in particular. And not to say like if you're not, I mean, there's also Pisces are also going through major changes. Obviously Taurus because of Uranus, and then you have Neptune. So I'm not excluding all the other ones, but certainly if we keep it simple, those are Capricorn, Cancer, for sure going through massive changes in their lives. So to pay attention to what is being called into your life and what are you restructuring, and
I like it.
You know, building anew.
Probably a good time to check in with those friends too. See how they're doing.
For sure. Pick up the phone, call. I know we're in a digital world now, and we're just texting, and I guess I'm also, and I'm just as, you know, guilty, and I'm learning to just pick up the phone. It's weird, right? Because I remember as a teenager, we're always on the phone.
Oh my God,
I was always on the phone.
Stop being on the phone. It was always like I fell asleep on the phone. In fact,
too.
many times.
Yeah, and then now it's like, oh, I have to call who? You know?
Yeah, I know. And I'm going to be on the phone with them for 2 hours. I ain't got time for that. But
exactly.
Yeah, it's important that we do create that time, I think, and especially because it's just an important time to reflect on, you know, family. I mean, I think the holidays bring up a lot of triggers too for those that, you know, maybe they're following a path of non-denominational principles, or, you know, non-organized religion or something of that nature. You know, it can be a little hard, but, you know, going back to the silence is important too. Maybe just, you don't have to go around telling everyone, you know, that this is your belief system, or, you know, that your dad doesn't believe in what you believe. We are all here to find and explore that. So, you know, don't be super resistant to those that don't see eye to eye with you. I think it's just, you know, they also say, someone said this once, and it was like, you'll know how enlightened you are when you spend a week with your family, and something like that. And I think that's so fitting, because it's like family triggers us to so many levels.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I was literally talking about that to someone in the car, I think on Thursday or something like that. Maybe it was a few days ago on Sunday. We were talking, she was sharing, because the girl that was riding the car with me, she was sharing with me her family dynamics, and how sometimes we say, yeah, we're all family. It's a great concept in theory, but when you really look at it in practice, our families, it's not always, you know, like unicorns and sparkling things, and you know, it's not always.
Never. I don't think it
like
ever
that.
is. Well, sometimes it can be fun.
It can be for some people.
Yeah.
I think like there are a few people in the world that are blessed with family where everyone gets along, but for the most part, family is always dysfunctional. We have dysfunctional relationships with family members, and it's learning how to navigate those relationships. And yes, intellectually, I think if we're in the spiritual path, we can understand that they're here to teach us certain lessons, but it's like, okay, how do you heal through and overcome it so that you can learn the lessons, so that you can be at peace with the relationship with that person, right? And in some ways, it feels also very stuck because you're born with this family. And yes, we may not have chosen it from a physical standpoint, but our soul chose them.
Exactly.
So it saddens me when it's like, I know my grandmother would never accepted my aunt's husband. And she shunned my aunt out of her life. And I feel my grandmother was so, you know, I love her, but I know generationally forgiveness it's not a thing for them.
Okay.
And then when my grandmother passed, my aunt still showed up, you know, at the hospice, but my grandmother wasn't even willing to just be at peace. So I feel like she passed away without that peace,
Yeah.
right? And my aunt, did her best to understand that that's how my grandmother is. She will never accept her husband in the family. But yeah, it's like these kinds of dynamics that it's
real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so much in store for us this December. I really hope you guys have a magical December. Remember to find the magic. This time can be quite magical as well, as much as it is heavy and dense and deep and working hard and all those things.
And the hibernation, allowing that downtime to hibernate is a very wintry activity. Yeah. So yes, isn't it weird? Like now that I think about it, Capricorn is like all about work and accomplishments and goals, but then it's winter time, and winter time is like hibernation time. It's
it is quite interesting. Well, I think it also, because I think work can look like so many different things.
Yes.
Work can be, and especially as women, like we work differently than men. So work can look like, taking some time to journal, to heal, it can really look like anything. So I think the hibernation phase is so important for us to really take a look at in a grand bird's eye perspective of what exactly we're going to be working on, or even just working on the things that don't seem like such hard working, out there slaving away or something like that.
Yeah. And also, from a business standpoint, like looking at it, is that a good ROI? You've worked so hard during the year, and taking the time to reflect on, was that a really good return on investment?
Yeah.
As a way to really get perspective on the choices and anything that we've got to let go of, so that in the new year, when we recommit to our business, to our work, it would look differently, because we have that perspective of, I'm wasting time on things that's not really adding value to my life. So, working smarter, not harder necessarily.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, Mimi, thank you so much for that was a really fun conversation. We got into a lot there, and I hope you guys really enjoyed that and feel inspired to, create your New Year's, either whether you do resolutions, intentions, we'll have something really fun inside the Goddess Life membership to really close out this new year and prepare for January. So I'm excited. I'm excited for December. Also, it's my birthday, so I'm finally going to be out of my 20s.
Oh my gosh.
And so this is what I'm really excited for. I'm really excited for my 30s.
Yeah, I'm excited for you too, because I had the greatest time in my 30s. And last year I got out of my 30s and into my 40s. Wow. So
I can't wait.
I think the 30s is like the new 20.
Yeah. I think even the 40s is, everyone around me, I'm like, damn, you're 40? What? It's like you're 22, So I'm excited, because I feel like it's a time in life where everything's less rocky and things become a little bit more clear. And from what I've heard, I don't know, I'm going to have my own experience, but the 20s are like the time to fuck up, make all the mistakes and not know where you're going, have no direction in life. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm ready. Like I've always, and also my entire 20s was spent like me trying to figure something out, business wise, whatever, career wise. What am I actually doing? I feel like I've lived thousands of lifetimes in my 20s. So it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Yes,
thank you. I'm going to be traveling. I finally bought my ticket to Thailand. So that's going to be very exciting. I've never been to Thailand or traveling Asia. I'm leaving the day after my birthday on the 19th, and I'll be back on the 4th of January. Yeah. So we're going to go diving, and who knows, you guys you'll see me on the journey for sure. So I'll be sharing lots of the stories.
Can't wait.
All right, sisters. Well, thanks so much for tuning in once again to this amazing podcast with myself and Mimi Truong, our resident astrologer. Mimi, where can everybody find you so they can get a deeper understanding of what their astrological chart is, or get some coaching? Yes. A really good time too in the holidays, and to get gift certificates too. Oh yeah, it's really popular. So you can find me on Instagram. Way to do that. Something different. Yeah, and be intentional with your gift giving. Exactly. You can find me on Instagram at Exalted, IGZOLTED.
And my website is the same word, www.igzolted.com.
Exalted. Thanks, Mimi.
Thank you.
I love you all so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. It really means the mostest of the mostest to me. It means so much to me. Woo, I'm getting tired here. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for writing reviews and giving us feedback about what you love about these episodes and why you love Mimi coming on. She loves it and we love her. So I love you. I see you. I hear you. And bye for now, sisters.